Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hey everybody, it's Jeff. Beautiful day in Maine today. Really nice day out. No wind, not a cloud in the sky, really sunny out. And it's warm. It's like 60, 62, 63 I think it is. But it's really nice today. And everybody's out jogging and stuff like that. Got a video here from the I Hit Girls, and as you probably know, the Pope had passed away. What you probably don't know is that 2 hours before he did, he met with JD Vance. Okay, so let's go to the video here, and we'll talk about that on the other side.
Sociopath JD Vance went to visit the Pope. Surprise, surprise. A few hours later, the Pope is dead. And the Pope was somebody who caused a lot of controversy in the Catholic Church because he calls for compassion. He calls for standing with the marginalized. And a lot of conservative Catholics thought that he was too liberal, and I'd hate for them to hear about the central character of their religion, Jesus. But JD Vance decided he was going to send out a tweet this weekend, and Elon Musk Grok corrected him. Let's go ahead and put this up. JD Vance says, "Happy Easter." Patriot Take says, "Your administration would have deported Jesus." And then somebody asked Grok, and Grok is Elon Musk's AI on Twitter. In your estimation, is this true that this administration likely would have deported Jesus? Elon Musk's artificial intelligence said, given the strict 2025 U.S. immigration policies under President Trump, it seems likely that Jesus, if undocumented, would face deportation. Policies prioritize removing undocumented immigrants, with over 32,000 arrests in 50 days, including refugees. As a Middle Eastern refugee, Jesus could be targeted despite being peaceful, et cetera, et cetera. Pumps, what's your take on that?
Well, here's what the Trump administration fails to do, and that's determine that who they are deporting is a criminal, deporting people without due process. So because Jesus would be brown, according to the Bible, I think he absolutely would have been deported. And do you think that Donald Trump would give a shit? No, they do not care. If you're brown, peace out.
And I just want to point out that, it's amazing with all this AI, and AI is, founded in Silicon Valley, and all of these oligarchs went and gave $1 million to Donald Trump. So many of their followers could very easily fact check things via AI. And Grok does this all over Twitter and disproves all of the propaganda, misinformation, and disinformation that is propagandized on the platform. But MAGA, of course, doesn't care. But I thought this was really interesting. A lot of people in the far right Christian world really struggle with Trump's moral duplicity. And let's put up this video from a MAGA pastor describing Trump's Christianity.
One who has researched a lot about Donald Trump, met Donald Trump, and tried to understand his relationship to Christianity. I do believe that he's a believer. Like someone said, he's a baby Christian. He's known to use bad language sometimes. He's not particularly devout, but I believe that he prays.
He's a baby Christian, you guys. He's a baby Christian. And they got that one adjective correct. Baby.
Yeah.
This man is the biggest titty baby whiner crying. But one thing that Donald Trump has done has exposed the far right political movement of Christian nationalism for being the breathtaking hypocrites that those of us that live in the Bible Belt have always known for them to be.
Interesting that Trump, who has never been religious, who called it 2 Corinthians because he knows nothing about the Bible, all these Christians are hanging on to him for dear life. And it's obvious to me it's because they like hypocrisy. They like, and more importantly, they like cruelty. They don't want to welcome people. They want to be the patriarchy that controls everything. And Donald Trump is the perfect person for that.
Well, and he hates who they hate. And Christian nationalism's anchor, its roots are in the South. And that's where slavery was born. And they've had a hard time giving up the Confederate flag. They've had a very difficult time giving up racism. And if anybody knows far right Christians in the Bible Belt, 100% of the time, they're racist. All right. Next up, we have Donald Trump with his Easter message. Go ahead and put this up. Happy Easter to all, including the radical left lunatics who are fighting and scheming so hard to bring murderers, drug lords, dangerous prisoners, the mentally insane, and well-known MS-13 gang members and wife beaters back into our country. You know, and then he goes on and on with all this crazy unhinged that I'm not even going to read. But it sounds like in that first sentence that he's describing his cabinet. Yes. If you look at Pete Hegseth, this guy is a white supremacist gang member. He has all the tattoos that support it. He's a sexual abuser. Trump himself is a sexual abuser. It sounds like when they are describing these undocumented immigrants that they want to kidnap, it's not deport. They're kidnapping them and sending them to a concentration camp. You know, and talking about Easter and rebirth and religion and all this stuff. To me, it sounds like he's describing himself in his cabinet.
I completely agree. And I thought if the projection is unbelievable, but let's remember it was Trump that brought back the Tate brothers into the United States.
Oh, yeah.
And I look at what he's writing. None of it is true, but he is trying to position that the left is for all these criminal illegals without proving these are criminals. And that tells me the convicted felon that he is, he doesn't care. He doesn't care about due process. He wants to own the libs. He wants to talk about himself. I mean, he goes on his Easter message and talks about poor me. The judges aren't doing what I want. The radical left, go fuck yourself. You are such a titty baby.
And this type of, this tweet is just full blown propaganda.
Yeah.
And he feeds it to his very racist, very white Christian base that traffics in hardcore right-wing news, propaganda news like Fox and all of those other dipshit podcasters. And it's just so amazing to me that millions of Americans would believe that anybody that's a Democrat or open-minded or progressive wants rapists and criminals in the country, where the truth of the matter is MAGA voters want rapists and criminals to run the country. That is the projection there. That is where the propaganda is. We don't want rapists or criminals to not have due process. We want them to have due process, but we want them to have their day in court. And that's what we were heading towards with Donald Trump before his friends at the Supreme Court made sure that now we're all in this mess and we're destabilizing everything in the world. Next up, let's move on and discuss MAGA Christian values. Put up the, this is just a quick reminder that Trump has 5 kids with 3 women and he cheated on. And Pete Hegseth has 7 kids with 3 women that he cheated on. Elon Musk has 13 kids with 4 women he cheated on. And Matt Gaetz paid underage girls for sex. Family values my ass. Moving along, the Pope, before his death, wanted to make sure that JD Vance was lectured on compassion. Put this up. Pope Francis skipped the Vatican's official meeting with Vice President JD Vance, sent his number 2 to give the Vice President a lecture on compassion, according to the Vatican statement. This Pope particularly spoke about immigrants. He spoke about the rights of the marginalized. Later on, he decided to give JD Vance a quick photo shoot. And let's put up this image right now. So there's the Pope right before he died with a smoky-eyed JD Vance across from him. And I'm just saying, I think being around fascists, if you are in poor health, could be very detrimental to your health, because I know what it's done to me.
Right.
And I'm not on life support with oxygen. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not one of these people that believes in weird coincidences or what have you, magical thinking, but that sure is kind of... seems like JD Vance might have killed him.
It's a little suspect. I do think that the Pope, when he sent his number 2, I think it was very pointed to talk about compassion and talking about, if you have contempt for all these immigrants, what does that say about you and your faith? And I think a lot of these MAGA people that were celebrating Jesus's birth should look in the mirror and see how they're treating people and the cruelty that they are pushing on people because of the color of their skin. It's gross.
It really is. It's amazing when you live in the Bible Belt and the most devout people that I know that speak so openly about their faith. You can't have more than a 5-minute conversation. And these are the people that feast on cruelty all of the time. And there's a direct link between MAGA and this Christian nationalism and this appetite for cruelty and nastiness. And then they try to faith wash it by doing a photo op with the Pope. And, within the Catholic religion, there's been a whole lot of controversy about this Pope and him speaking out about immigration and showing people compassion. And the right wing know that they have a compassion problem. They have an empathy problem. And that's why Elon Musk says that empathy is the enemy of Western democracies. And here's something that I just thought was interesting. Fox Propaganda Entertainment Television. They covered Vladimir Putin going to his Easter service. And I want to remind you all that this is a type of propaganda and this is a type of gaslighting. Vladimir Putin started a war and has killed tens of thousands of people. He kidnaps Ukrainian kids. He kills opponents, Alexander Navalny. He kills off oligarchs that threaten his power. This man is evil and diabolical to his core. But in MAGA world, if JD Vance goes and sits down with the Pope, they go, oh, they're close to God.
Right.
If Vladimir Putin goes to an Easter service, it's like, oh, let's cover this so that we can hoodwink the rubes. And this is intellectually dishonest, spiritually dishonest, psychologically dishonest. And here's what pisses me off. There is always this deference given to people that claim to be religious. There's a deference that everybody gives this person. Oh, we're going to run over here and we're going to give this person deference. But we're not going to stand up and say, what you're doing is wrong. What you're doing is immoral. What you're doing is the opposite of social justice, of equality. And you can dress it up all you want to, and you can pretend to be religious, but your actions are antithetical to that.
Very rarely am I shocked by Fox News because it is such a propaganda network, but putting Putin going to Easter services, trying to normalize a murderous dictator in the United States was a low that I could not wrap my head around that they went. Because you know that all this propaganda from Putin and the right wing, Putin is just like us. He's our friend. That's what they're showing here. And they are normalizing a murderous dictator. And my guess it's because they know he controls the White House. But this was a low bar even for Fox News.
Yeah, but we always have to remember, like right now, Fox News is trying to normalize a man Donald Trump and JD Vance, who are kidnapping people and sending them to a concentration camp. So there is no low at Fox News, and Fox News is a profit-driven propaganda machine that exploits people that like to traffic and cruelty, that are religiously damaged, that need a lot of psychotherapy. And instead of seeking help, they go and feed their hate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And everybody excuses it as long as the person says they're religious. There is this enabling to this religious patriarchy that continues to keep this machine going. And it is a cancer, and it is at the epicenter of the American problem right now. Okay, we're trying to get to 1 million subs. Please subscribe. We'll see you all later.
You know, for Vance, who publicly aligns with policies and rhetoric that are really removed from compassion and mercy and even justice, okay? To go and visit the Vatican, one of the most symbolic places of morality and spiritual leadership you'll find, that's a very hypocritical, very, very hypocritical, okay? And the timing of Pope Francis's death the next day feels eerie and symbolic, almost like the universe or God himself was sending a message, you know? I don't know. Very, very strange. But I'm just kind of wondering, you know, what the hell could he possibly want to say to the Pope? Really? What the hell what the hell would a guy like that want to talk to the Pope? Was it just a publicity stunt? Probably. Just so, you know, people could say, oh, see, he's a Christian and a moral person and stuff. Which, if you've been paying attention at all in the last 7-8 months, you know goddamn well that's not the truth, okay? You know, while claiming Christian values, while being cruel to, you know, with the border and stripping away rights, you know, sending people to El Salvador, and then ignoring injustice, you know, because they're being denied their due process. Okay, that's not part of faith of Christianity. You know, that's performative politics, as they called it. You know, and it's dressed up. At least with Vance here, what he did, it was dressed up as a religion. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm hoping that the Pope saw through it, but, you know, because, hey, you know, news that happens politically doesn't stay in the States. So I'm sure the Pope probably heard all the shit that, you know, was going on with Trump and him. And I feel like why would the Pope even want to entertain a meeting with this guy? You know, that's why I go back to, what the hell were they talking about? What was so damn important that Vance wanted to go see the Pope? You know, I don't know. Having a meeting with a demon in his final hours, I mean it's kind of disquieting to a man wasting his time with a fucking asshole like Vance. You know. And, you know, and the Pope, of course, was a guy who had created controversy because he wanted to see a little more compassion in the world. Okay? And he's sitting here talking to a guy that seems to have none. I mean, imagine him talking to Pete Hegseth. Or what's that guy there, the one, Horath, or whatever the fuck his name. I can't remember his name, but he's the one there that they're always talking about, talking to, rather, when they talk about deportations and stuff. But, you know, you can't normalize being a cruel criminal, you know, like what Donald Trump is, or even Vance for that matter, by going to the Pope and maybe trying to come off as being, oh, we're not as bad as you think we are. That's pretty deceptive, and it's manipulative, okay? And you know, the funny thing is, and somebody, and I don't know who it was that said it, that if Jesus were alive today, let's just say he came back the way he came to us the first time, according to the Bible, that because he would have brown skin, because, you know, it's the Middle East, you know, where everybody over there, I mean, it's, they're kind of like that, he would probably be deported, even by mistake. Even if he was an American citizen, he would probably be likely to get deported, you know. And so, you know, how do we know that we haven't already done that? How do we know that, you know, Jesus didn't already come back and found himself on a flight to El Salvador, where he is now living the rest of his days in a concentration camp? Do you think anyone in MAGA would even care to entertain that possibility if they're so Christian-oriented? Of course not. Because then they would have to face the fact that what they're doing isn't right. That's the problem. And the idea that they're going around saying to people, the Democrats want to put criminals back on the street. No, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we're defending due process. We have a set of rules that we tout around the world as we got the best justice system in the world. Well, if it's such a good system, then why can't we give all these people we deported a day in court to argue their case? I mean, how would you like it if, say, somebody next door to you got shot, and the cops just run to your house, snatch you out of your fucking bed, and blame you for it, and don't give you a day in court to prove your innocence? That's how unjust that is. Because that's exactly what's going on. These ICE people, they just grab somebody off the street with a team of cars. I mean, they come, you know, with all, you know, 7 or 8 fucking cars. I mean, you think the hell they were going after mob bosses? No, they're just coming around picking up who they think are illegal people in this country. Who would think to go to a university or a college to look for such individuals, okay? I mean, it seems really weird that they're doing this, and at the same time ignoring the courts, who they're getting louder about this now. I mean, the Supreme Court already turned against Trump here last week about this, saying that, you know, you need to follow the rules. I mean, this, you know, what was it, the Enemies Act, whatever the hell they call that Trump's using to deport these people. They say if you want to use that, you still have to do due process for these people you're picking up, even if it's at the Alien Enemies Act thing that you're using to justify collecting these folks. You still have to give them due process. We're not going to stop you using that as a reason to round them up, but you have to put them through the system, because that's what we do in America. Whether you like the country or not, this is how we deal with crime and how we deal with justice. Other countries can do their own thing, as we know. Not everybody follows the same rules, but in the United States, we've had this procedure forever. Okay, it seems, all right, and we have a right to it. You know, innocent until proven guilty, right? I mean, if you want to believe that that's how we do things, then we have to believe in due process. Because, like I said, if you deny it to one, you can easily deny it to lots of other people, okay? And so if we don't stand up for the rights of one, then you might as well just throw the book away and say, well, we ain't going to have any due process. Hell, you know, we're okay with having cops just arrest people at random for no reason, okay? Sure. And then we're going to go back to the point of the debate about, well, how can we stop cops from arresting people for no good reason? Well, that brings us back to the whole shebang about due process. Okay? So why push it aside, then find out, oh, actually we need it? Just accept that we need that system, okay? You want to get rid of illegals, that's fine, okay? But do it the right way. That's not a whole lot to ask. The Democrats are not preventing that criminals or illegal aliens be deported, but certainly don't deport them, especially if they've got no criminal record, to a concentration camp in another country where they're going to be treated like shit. Send them back, you know, in a better way, if you're going to do that. But they're taking everybody and they're treating them all the same, like they're all criminals. It'd be like, you know, if I, let's say I accidentally tripped on a fucking kid or something like that, and they'd lock me up with all the fucking serial killers. Okay, no, I'm sorry, but there, you know, the punishment should fit the crime, and if there's no crime, there shouldn't be any punishment. And a lot of these people that they deported didn't have criminal records. If you want to believe that, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. I don't care. But I'm telling you, they said over 75% of the folks they sent out of here weeks ago didn't have criminal records. And the fact that the Justice Department and Sham Bondi isn't coming out to explain to the press who the ones were that had records and what their crimes were says a lot. That they just don't have any information at all. They were deemed criminals by ICE. Okay, ICE is the one that declared these people criminals. And you really want to trust what ICE says? The way they've been treating people, rounding up innocent folks and hey, if they're doing that, what makes you think they have anything on any of these folks? Okay, I'm sorry, but their trustworthiness here is in question. And if Sham Bondi doesn't have any evidence to prove that Albrego Garcia was a criminal, MS-13, whatever the fuck that means, okay? If she has no fucking proof to back up her mouth, then she needs to just shut up and accept the fact, yeah, you guys did make a mistake, and you admitted that. Now it's time to fix that mistake. But no, she gets out there and says, oh, I don't care what they do. He's not coming back into this country. It's almost like, oh, we made a mistake, but that son of a bitch is staying over there no matter what happens, okay? Then it becomes personal. Now they're deporting these people for personal reasons, not because they're criminals, but because what? They don't like Latinos? They're racists? You know? You have to wonder, where's that coming from? And she takes that personal, like, oh, I don't care. I don't care what the courts say. He's not coming back. If he sets foot here, we're going to send him back. And he's not even a criminal. What do they got against this guy? Trump himself brought that guy into this country and gave him asylum in 2019. How many people in MAGA know that? If he was such a criminal, why didn't Biden deport him? Okay, and all that time. Biden was deporting people right and left while he was president. And if there was a problem with this guy, with Garcia, that was bad enough that Trump picked him to send him back, then hey, what was to stop Joe Biden from sending this guy out of the country because he was a criminal? All right? You see what I'm saying? Their hypocrisy and the lies, you know, when you start to look under a microscope here at what they're doing, you start to see the flaws in everything they're doing. And you start to pick up some pretty bad signs that, you know, there's probably a lot of racism going on here in this administration on who they want out of this country. And that's why I'm saying I hope, you know, the black Americans understand that they're next. You know, once Trump is through with Latinos, the rest of the people to fill up that 20 million number there that he predicted or that he wanted to see out of this country, he'll fill that up with black Americans. They'll be the next on there. And so, you know, like I said, don't wait till it comes your way. Stand up and fight now. Okay? Better to be prudent, you know, than to be a victim. Get out there now. You know, Jesus, I mean, there's been a lot of protests, especially around here in Maine, of course, because, you know, Trump's got a friggin' hard on there for Maine for some reason. He just can't seem to leave the state alone. But, yeah, a lot of protests in Maine. And he ain't quitting. He ain't quitting, and the Maine people are getting madder and madder. You know, so, like I said, it's you know, we're people in Maine, and there's not that many people in the state, about what, 1 million, give or take, you know, a few hundred, and we're making a hell of a noise over here. So and I'm sure other states have been, seeing a lot of increase in protests too. I mean, Jesus, big rallies, big protests everywhere. And I think, like, the more people get out and just keep screaming, shouting, and rocking the boat, the less likely Trump's going to be able to ignore them, okay? It gets harder after a while. And it certainly brings down, a person's approval numbers. And after a while, a person like that, even if his constituents aren't officially connected to him in any way, they suffer too. Anybody that works with him or works in his party, MAGA group or whatever, they all suffer with him. Okay. And this year could be about Trump destroying America, and next year could be all about Trump being impeached. I mean, that's how fast things could get, in this country. Because I'll tell you, big business in America is not happy with him right now. They're not. Okay. They don't like a stock market that's not going up. Okay, when their stock values keep plummeting, and there's talk of a recession, or talk of a depression, or talk that people are losing jobs and spending is going down, hey, that's a trickle-up phenomena, because it affects the people at the top that are trying to take your money. But if you're not spending it, they can't take it, and what happens to them? Okay, they start to lose their value of their stock. They start to suffer. And if there's anything that motivates folks in this country, it's money. Money. So, when the rich are losing money, and their economists say that, there's no hope in sight if if Trump doesn't stop what he's doing with these tariffs, what do you think's going to happen? These people have the money to motivate an impeachment. Okay? The protesters realistically don't. They can be ignored. But when it's money involved and people are losing big on the market, that sparks a reaction real fast. And it doesn't matter how many friends Trump might have in the rich world or whatever, they will turn on him like that, because it's about money. Greed is a double-edged sword, my friends. Okay? That's something Trump should have learned early in life. That you don't fuck with people's the wealthy, their money. You don't fuck with them. You don't destabilize their little empires they have. When you start doing that shit, they will take that money they have and they will unleash hell on you. Okay? And like I said, this year will be about Trump ruining the country. Next year it'll be about Trump getting impeached. And I think that's probably what's going to happen next year. Because I don't see things getting better by Christmas. Okay? I certainly don't. This summer's going to be a banner fucking summer for anger out there. I'll tell you right now. I mean, a lot of people, they're going to be so fucking pissed. And the small businesses are going to be so fucking pissed. Because, hey, nobody's spending money. Nobody's traveling. Nobody's, coming here. Especially from Canada. I mean, they're canceling fucking hotels in Old Orchard Beach like you wouldn't believe. About 90% of the calls they're getting is just cancellations. It's going to be a ghost town down there. It's going to be worse than when COVID was around. Okay, and that's the thing they don't want to relive, because it was hard on the state during COVID, and now we're this is coming again, but it's something that could have been avoided. This is being done by a guy in the White House. Not by some virus that, we didn't have much control over the first time. This is something we could have prevented all along if we just didn't vote for him. And now, so you see, and Maine's not the only state that's going to suffer big as far as tourism goes, okay? I imagine a lot of states that have, like, theme parks and stuff like that, they're going to see a huge decline. Because a lot of people from overseas, they like to come to the States just to go to those theme parks, like Disneyland or Universal Studios and Busch Gardens. It's going to impact a lot of these states. Big. I mean, it ain't nothing to shrug off and say, no. You're talking a lot of big money there that's going to just evaporate like that. And it's all because of Trump. He's alienated the United States from the rest of the world, from our own allies, for Christ's sake. That's like living next door to a neighbor, all right, who puts up a fence, on his property, all right, and he puts signs, private property, all this and that. And if you're next door and, you might play music just a little bit, and he bitches, he calls the police. They're making too much noise. I mean, it's like living next door to a neighbor like that, okay? A pain in the ass. That's what Trump is. He's the pain in the ass neighbor now to the rest of the fucking world. And the rest of the world don't, they're putting up a fence around this country, a symbolic one, by cutting off trade to the United States. That's the fence, okay? They don't want nothing to do with him. How long do you think that's going to last? All right, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Roxy Sugar, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you, original.
When American troops perish in the line of duty, the remains are treated with the greatest honor and quiet dignity. They are placed aboard special Air Force transport planes and returned to their home soil and into the grieving arms of their loved ones. 4 U.S. service members defending our interests and alliances in Europe perished last week. Every president has accepted the responsibility to greet our fallen heroes. It doesn't matter the party. Where is their president today? Golfing. Again. So as the families of these 4 lost heroes contemplate life without their husbands, brothers, fathers, or sons, Donald Trump is showing them the respect he thinks they deserve by golfing. Again.
After my husband tried the salt trick, I let him come in through the back door, and it was amazing. My plumber was over 60, but he left me with limp legs for 2 hours after doing that dirty trick you taught me. That's what my friend told me. Can you believe it? Don't drink salt water before bed unless you want to stay hard all night and make your wife spray like a fire hydrant. Yes, salt. Discovered by Harvard scientists, this 15-second trick has been proven to increase blood flow to the little guy by 342% in over 100,000 men. Forget pills, Kegels, and pumps that only cause embarrassment. This salt trick is natural, easy, discreet, and helps any man be ready whenever needed. As hard as a rock. Your only task will be to use this trick for just 15 seconds in the bathroom and watch the magic happen. It might sound strange, but I'm sure your wife or girlfriend will thank you for this. So pay attention, go to the kitchen and grab some salt. Here's the secret. Adult film stars have been using this trick for years. That's why they're always ready for 2, 3, or even 4 shoots in a row. And now you can too. It doesn't matter if you're 25 or over 60, the famous morning wood will be inevitable. Want to know how it works? I'll show you how to do it the right way. I recorded a free, uncensored, and very satisfying video at home. However, it will only be online today and only for the smartest. If you're ready, click the link in the description or the pinned comment and see for yourself. You'll thank me for this, but make sure to watch with headphones. As I mentioned, the video is uncensored and shows exactly how this trick works to make your partner as hard as a rock.
Holy fuck.
Were you just checking out her ass?
No, I wasn't.
You know what? Fuck this.
Wait, babe, calm down. Oh my god. Mary! I am sorry!
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Welcome back, everybody. I got this article here that was published a couple days ago, I guess. Karl Rove, okay, not my, not a big fan of him. Okay, he was in during the Bush years. Okay, the guy was an asshole. But he came out on the Wrap, I guess, and said that Trump's antics will end badly for him because Americans are already tired of him, I guess. Let me read this to you here. It says, Republican political consultant Karl Rove marked the forthcoming 100-day milestone of President Trump's second term with a Wall Street Journal column warning of the quote-unquote Trump fatigue that many Americans already feel. In his column for Wall Street Journal, Rove, who previously served as senior advisor and White House deputy chief of staff under George W. Bush, wrote of Trump's second term, quote, Americans are already exhausted. They've had way too much thrown at them, unquote. While Rove noted that Trump has, in his MAGA supporters' eyes, followed through on his border promises, he critiqued the president for failing to properly address Americans' economic needs, promoting a confusing global tariffs plan, and adopting a scattershot approach to policy making. Quote, every week the White House throws its weight behind a new issue that went largely or entirely unmentioned during the campaign, unquote, Rove wrote, referencing Trump's renaming of the Gulf of Mexico and his comments about acquiring Greenland and Canada. Rove's remarks come at a time when Trump's policies are receiving significant pushback from Wall Street, Congress, and also the American people. The Republican Party's resolve is consequently being tested at a high rate of intensity. Amidst all of the ongoing governmental chaos, Rove observed that Trump, quote, doesn't avoid drama, he relishes creating it, unquote, and he blasted the president for focusing too much on getting revenge on his political enemies. Quote, there's way too much retribution. Most of the president's revenge attempts will end badly for him, unquote, the political consultant wrote. Quote, Republicans could rue the day they set a new justification for retaliation from Democrats. Rove called out how Trump's actions over the past 3 months have helped, quote, parties in foreign countries that oppose him, unquote, citing renewed liberal popularity in nations like Canada and Australia. Unfortunately, Rove believes those hoping for a positive shift in the coming weeks, months, and years will likely be disappointed. Quote, his policies will almost certainly continue to be a mixture of deliberately planned, well-executed ideas and those concocted on the fly, unquote, Rove predicted, adding that the Oval Office and Mar-a-Lago will continue to feel like, quote, ancient Rome's Colosseum without the bloodletting and lions, unquote. The longtime Republican noted that all of this has had an adverse effect on Trump's approval ratings, but nonetheless hoisted, quote, things will get worse before they get better, unquote. Yeah, they're going to get worse, and when they get better, Trump won't be president, I think. Yeah, I mean, Carl's right, you know, as far as he goes here with that. Certainly Americans were already tired of him when he was campaigning for the White House for a second time, okay? We are already at the end here of our patience with this clown. And I just, like I said, I'm still surprised that he got as far as he did, electorally speaking. You know, if we're to believe that America was really, tired of him, as was constantly being said, you know, on various shows and stuff like that people are watching. And so, you know, like I said, it's really, everyth's in Trump's corner. He's either going to make or break his presidency, and it looks like he's going to break it. Okay, it really does. Everybody's thinking the same thing, just like Carl's thinking here. Now I want to show you this picture that was taken in Poland, Maine, over the weekend. Protester says "You're next" on the thing. Recognize the outfit there, The Handmaid's Tale. You know, yeah, a lot of people getting out there and protesting. I want to read this article here from MSNBC about how Trump is weaponizing FEMA to not fund Democrat-led states here. So let's read this. It was written by Jahan Jones. Last week, the Trump administration officially denied the state of Washington's request for disaster aid to assist with recovery efforts related to last year's quote-unquote bomb cyclone that killed at least 2 people and damaged hundreds of homes and businesses. The administration sent a letter responding to former Governor Jay Inslee, who filed the request for $34 million to the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, before his term ended and was replaced by current Democrat Governor Bob Ferguson. The letter says, and quote, "This is in response to your January 14, 2025 request for a major disaster declaration for the state of Washington as a result of severe storms, straight-line winds, flooding, landslides, and mudslides during the period of November 17 to November the 23rd in 2024. You specifically requested a declaration for public assistance for 6 counties and hazard mitigation statewide. Based on your review of all the information available, it has been determined that supplemental federal assistance under the Stafford Act is not warranted. Therefore, I must inform you that your request for a major disaster declaration is denied. The letter doesn't give a specific reason to justify why the administration thinks the funds aren't warranted. The Fox affiliate in Seattle reports that the cyclone ravaged local infrastructure like highways, utilities, and public electrical power systems, and that thousands of damaged reports have been filed. Ferguson said he plans to appeal the decision. Quote, "There are very clear criteria to qualify for these emergency relief funds. Washington's application met all of them. This is another troubling example of the federal government withholding funding. Washington communities have been waiting for months for this resource they need to fully recover from last winter's devastating storms, and this decision will cause further delay. We will appeal." Denying federal disaster aid to areas led by Democrats has become a trend for President Trump, one that dates all the way back to 2018, when his first administration withheld aid from Puerto Rico in an aftermath of Hurricane Maria. Last week, the administration notified North Carolina that it would no longer fully reimburse the state for funds it's spending to recover from the devastation it suffered from Hurricane Helen last year. The move is particularly ironic considering that Trump's pitch to North Carolina voters hinged on disinformation about the purported lack of federal aid. Democratic Governor Josh Stein denounced the move, and North Carolina is also appealing that decision. Local outlet North Carolina Newsline explained that, quote, "The agency's decision means that North Carolina will lose a critical share of federal assistance in what's expected to be a years-long rebuild process," unquote. The Trump administration had previously refused to approve a recovery budget for the city of Asheville unless officials cut references to a program to help minority and women-owned businesses. To put some context around these recent decisions, Trump has openly stated his desire to withhold disaster aid from California, led by Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, for the recent Los Angeles County wildfires recovery, unless officials agreed to institute restrictive voting laws in the state. Trump has also floated the idea of shutting down FEMA entirely, a plan that risks leaving states without critical aid in the wake of natural catastrophes. But in lieu of a complete shutdown, he and his administration seem content to weaponize FEMA and deny residents in Democrat-led states the recovery funds they desperately need. Okay, family values, right? That's what they are, family values, these people. Compassion, responsibility, ethics, morality. None of those things, those words, fits what's sitting in the White House now. What created FEMA were people who have compassion, family values, ethics, morality. Folks like that is what created FEMA. Now, if you don't give a shit about family values, morality, ethics, okay, and all those things, then clearly you're on Trump's side on this, okay? You don't think people deserve to get help, from a natural disaster, and there will be many, okay? And it's not to say that FEMA is the be-all and end-all solution to people's woes when it comes to a weather anomaly that wreaks havoc, okay? But it's good that it's there, right? It's good that we have it. I mean, it helps. It's not perfect, but it helps. You can make the same argument for Social Security. It's not perfect, but it helps. Okay? And all this guy and his White House wants to do is just slap the fucking help away. Okay? We don't want to do it. We don't want to fucking help anybody. That's what he's doing. He's turning the government against the country. We're not here for you anymore. It's like, really? Because the Constitution says we the people We are the government. Those buildings that you're sitting in there in Washington, that's just buildings. The government is us. But you see, he doesn't see it that way. He's a businessman sitting in an office for politicians trying to run it as a business. Okay? And like I had told, a few people over Easter, a business is run like a dictatorship in many ways. There's a lot of comparison there. So a guy who spent most of his life running companies into the ground, as it were, also ran it with that attitude. Now, the fact that he ran so many into the ground suggests that he can't even do a business job that well. So for someone to make the claim that, oh, he'd make a good president is completely ludicrous. I mean, there's just no fucking proof of that, okay? So, he can run the country like this, in this manner, but it's going to cost him, in a lot of ways too. But it's really, it's upsetting, because even, like I said, they're still waiting for help. Those areas are still damaged. And, there'll be more hurricanes, more tornadoes, more whatever to come through there and continue to pound these areas again. I don't see the logic in Trump being, this heartless. Except that in his mind, he thinks it's logical. Only he thinks that. So, here's something that couldn't have happened to a nicer person. From CNN, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's bag, including $3,000 in cash, is stolen from a D.C. restaurant. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem fell victim to a thief while eating dinner at a downtown Washington, D.C. restaurant Sunday night, the secretary confirmed today. Noem, who was asked about the theft at the White House Easter egg roll, acknowledged the incident and said the matter has not been resolved. The Secret Service, which provides security for Noem, reviewed security camera footage at the Capitol Burger restaurant and saw an unknown white male wearing a medical mask steal her bag and leave the restaurant. The thief got away with Noem's driver's license, medication, apartment keys, passport, DHS access badge, makeup bag, blank checks, tampons, everything, whatever, and $3,000 in cash. Okay, Jesus, you can get a whole breakdown list of it. The Secret Service has launched an investigation to trace any use of Noem's financial instruments, the person added. Quote, her entire family was in town, including her children and grandchildren. She was using the withdrawal to treat her family to dinner activities and Easter eggs and gifts, unquote, a DHS spokesperson said. Who cares? Couldn't happen to a nicer person, right? Friggin' witch. And here's somebody else here whose money just disappeared. This is from U.S. News. Elon Musk's Doge savings faces backlash as $1 billion vanishes overnight amidst cost-cutting claims. Elon Musk's efforts to cut federal spending through the Department of Government Efficiency have hit a serious roadblock. Nearly $1 billion in claimed Doge savings vanished overnight, raising questions about the accuracy and transparency of the agency's cost-cutting strategy. According to reporting by Notice, about $962 million in savings was quietly removed from Doge's website in the early hours of Tuesday. These disappearing figures include previously claimed savings from canceled federal contracts, grants, and leases, with no clear explanation or notice provided to the public. What happened to the money? The biggest change involves a $1.1 billion contract with the Acacia Center for Justice, which was initially listed on the Doge website. The agency had claimed $367 million in savings from ending this contract, which funded legal services for unaccompanied immigrant children in the U.S. So, boy, if Musk can, is trusted, boy, people trusted Musk to do stuff here, and already he can't even manage his own fucking affairs. Ugh. Money just up and vanished like that. You know, has anyone even asked him about how much money he's supposedly saved since they started this bullshit Doge here? Has anyone even bothered? Has the press even cogitated on asking him? Okay, and if he answers, would he provide any evidence that money was saved? I don't think there is any savings. I don't think there's any proof that he saved money. I think all there is just him cutting all across the board. That's all there is. Okay? Because think about the things that he's cut. A lot of it was necessity, things that we need in this country, and he's cutting it. So if he's on that track, then what is he saving? Nothing. He's not saving anything, which means there is no waste in the government. He's proving the point that nothing in the government is being wasted here. It's either that or he's not looking where he should be looking, which I already laid out should be the Department of Defense. A lot of waste there. If you want to look for waste, you're going to find a lot of it there. But no, he's attacking things that people depend on. Therefore, waste is not an issue. Okay? The more the merrier is what these things need. But he's out there, and then all of a sudden he loses $1 billion and has no idea where it went. At least that's his story. You know, how do we know he didn't take that fucking money? Remember, he spent money on a candidate that was running for a seat. You know, was it in Wisconsin? And he lost. He spent, I don't know how many millions on that. You don't suppose he dipped into that or whatever to compensate himself for that loss? I mean, I don't know. This is the kind of people we got. You can't just say, oh, you're bullshit. No, these are criminals. These people are fucking criminals. It's a goddamn mafia. Whatever you want to call it. It's organized crime running the fucking government now. So any idea that I might have about what could be going on that's illegal and profit-making is a possibility. It's not improbable. It's probable. And until you can prove to me, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that these people are working within the confines of the law and holding on to the standards at which things like a government agency are supposed to do, hey, if you can't do that, I'm not going to believe you. I'm not going to believe your counter argument to what I'm saying here right now. And I don't think anybody who's got any wisdom at all between their ears would ever fucking cogitate the possibility that they're wrong if they think that Trump, because they know he's a criminal, isn't doing something underhanded with Musk at his side, okay? Despite all the talk about, this falling out that's happening between Trump and Musk, at the end of the day, there's still two peas in a pod, okay? They still do things the same fucking way. It's hooray for me, to hell with you. And if it means breaking every fucking law in the books to get this profit that they want so dearly, they will do it. Okay? Prove me fucking wrong. I wish somebody would show me some goddamn evidence, because they always tell me, you're a fucking idiot, you're wrong. Please, will you please show me the fucking evidence? Don't give me these fucking, oh, well, Biden did this. That's not proof. That's not an answer to what I just asked you. Prove to me that Trump is doing everything you said he was going to do, that he's not screwing us over. Tell us. Show us and tell us, okay? I don't want to hear these stickman arguments or, oh, well, the last administration. Because if you say the last administration did it, okay, and then that means Trump's doing it, then it means you don't care, because the last time when the last president did it and you didn't, and you bitched about it, Trump's doing it now and you're not bitching about it, which means it's a false you're pretending to be upset, okay, because you weren't upset when you were upset before when Biden did it, but you're not upset now when Trump's doing it. So you're bullshitting yourself. You're bullshitting everyone else around you. You're not consistent. Okay, so don't go there with that as a counter argument. You're better off to just answer my question. What proof do you have to show me that Trump's being honest and he's not fucking us over? Okay, because I can spend the rest of the year compiling all kinds of examples of Trump having fucked the government over in some way or broke the law in some way. Okay, I can do that all day long and run circles around you. But if you think you can run circles around me to prove to me that I'm wrong, please, I dare you. I dare you. You know? And I don't want to read links from Fox News or from that other fucking Republican outfit, okay? I don't want to read that shit. You get some legitimate sources, okay, that have a pretty good reputation. I'll read that, okay? I'll read whatever, you know, if you're going to send me links to stuff to read, send me links to good sites, not outfits that already have told you that they're going to be on one side of the fucking political aisle or the other. Okay, let me read stuff from a good source. All right? Prove me fucking wrong. I don't know how many times I've made that request since last year, I think. I mean, during the campaign, people telling me, you know, Trump is going to do the right things and yada, yada, yada. Okay? And already their arguments are falling apart, tripping all over themselves. Okay? But instead of trying to prove me wrong, they hurl insults, or they try to compare what I'm bitching about Trump doing now. They're saying, well, Biden did it before, you know. It's like, well, that's not an answer. You're not making, you know, if you didn't like that Trump did it before and you're not arguing against it with Trump, you know, then you're really not you're not listening to yourself, because clearly you're being you know, you're on a bandwagon here where Trump can do no wrong, even though he's doing all kinds of things that you tell me Biden did and you didn't like. Trump's doing it now, but it's okay, you know. So when you come at me like that, you know, you lose your credibility with me quite a bit, because I know from then on our continued conversation is going to be only about what you believe, and you're not going to listen to a fucking thing I got to say. You know, that's one of the ways I can spot a MAGA supporter is when I'm online talking to people is the way they debate me, which isn't really a debate. It's just slinging mud, you know, what I call. Because if they really wanted to debate me, they would have no trouble finding proof to their statements that they make. Okay? Instead, they want to reach into another presidency and complain about that. You know, totally divert away from the conversation, which I'm not falling for. Okay? That's a piss poor way to defend your position. You know? So, like I said, you know, the things that are going on with Trump and all that, and transparency, which is a must, I think, in any presidency, and Doge being so opaque. Okay, we don't get to see what the hell Doge is finding or not finding. We don't get reports from Musk about what he claims he's saving and not saving. All we know is that, whoops, $1 billion has just disappeared, and nobody seems to have an answer where that went. I, for one, don't believe that for a minute. Okay, I don't. I think Musk knows exactly where that money went, and he's not saying, because it's probably in his pocket. Okay. But I'm just saying that this is ridiculous. You know, every day Americans are being hoodwinked, being ripped off, being stepped on. Okay? And every day it seems like we don't have a press out there that's got the balls to fucking challenge Trump and not be afraid of that fucking old geezer, okay? That son of a bitch ain't got nothing over you, press, okay? You guys have an entire company to back you up. if he wants to come after you. You know, the rest of us, you know, we're on our own, but you guys in the press ought to have the balls to come out and swinging. You know, but for some reason, you guys just seem to think you're all victims. Everybody's being a victim. Trump is, you know, killing, you know. He does that only because you let him. Only because you let him. All right? He can't shut out anybody. You know, the court's already said, you know, you can't, NPR and AP News, he can't close the book on, close the door on them. They have to be allowed in there. Okay? He got pissed about that. You guys have more power than you realize to control him, if you would just take the time to do it, to do the job. Ask people who have worked as journalists in the past, okay? Some of these older people who came up from the 70s and stuff doing the job, they're still around. Ask them what's required of a good reporter, okay? Yeah, I'm sure things have changed since then, okay? But at the end of the day, you still carry a sword of Damocles. You just don't know how to use it. You just don't know how to use it, but you got to. You got to use it, especially when you got a guy like this. I mean, these are the times when we have to have a press. These are the fucking times, okay, when we have the media. Richard Nixon didn't like the media because they were after him, 24/7, they were after him. They wanted fucking answers, and he didn't like that. You know? Well, when the president doesn't like, that means the press are doing their job. I mean, think about it. When the president gets pissed off at the press being around, okay, then obviously he's got something to hide, right? And the press is doing their job. You got to turn the heat up under this fucker. How's it going to look if he closes the door to everybody? You know, that ain't going to look good. That's certainly going to lose him some fucking popularity points when nobody can talk to this guy. So what have you got to lose? I mean, sure, Fox will be the only one in there, but who the fuck gives a shit about Fox? I mean, that's just entertainment. That's all that is. You know, propaganda, entertainment propaganda. And so nobody really looks at Fox as a legitimate news outlet. But you get these other agencies out there trying to get information out of him, and he gets pissed off and he shuts the door in their face. Hey, that means you're doing your fucking job. That means you're doing your job. I mean, look how what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, got mad at that British reporter when she cornered her. Well, they're from another country, so there wasn't a whole lot she could do about it. But she got so pissed. And I'm saying, boy, that's the kind of journalists we need in this country. Somebody who will ask that question that nobody else will, okay? That's why I'm telling you people, if you want to know what's going on in America, don't look at American news. Look at news coming from other countries, and you can get that online. You know, just see what everybody else is saying about this country. They've got no reason to lie about this country. It ain't their country, so they don't give a shit. You know, they're going to tell everybody what the hell's going on, and they don't have to worry about the consequences. So if you really want some, you know, unbiased, you know, a view of the news of the day, okay, you're better off getting it from somewhere else. You know, I mean, I like watching 60 Minutes Australia. It's their version of 60 Minutes, but sometimes they do stories about the United States, you know, and I think those, you know, they're pretty good. They're a lot better than I think that the United States' 60 Minutes is these days, but they're pretty good at getting to the root of things. I mean, they've covered a lot of stuff. I mean, you can find a lot of their episodes on YouTube if you subscribe to their YouTube channel. So if you want to watch, you know, some hard-hitting stories, some of them based in Australia, some of them in the States, some of them in other countries, they're pretty broad, you know, where they go. But I think that's a pretty good news magazine, TV news magazine to watch. think even better than the United States' version, to be honest. But there's a lot of others online you can get news about, you know. And like I said, you know, don't let it all be American news. You know, you'll get a broader view from other countries. All right, so that's it for today, and I hope everybody has a great rest of the work weeks. So subscribe, comment, and share. Oh, you know what? Yesterday, not only was it Easter, but it was Hitler's birthday. Did you hear anybody bitch about that? Anybody comment about, you know, Hitler's birthday falling on Easter? Because, you know, I think last year or something, in Easter, and there was an event, holiday event or something, and everybody got pissed off about it. I don't know. I just hoped everybody kept that in mind because of yesterday. We had the birthday of Hitler falling on Easter Sunday. Anyway, subscribe, comment, share, keep your ears open for health-related issues. And, you know, treat each other like a community out there. Be nice. Help each other out. And I'll talk to you guys later, so take care, buddy.